and welcome to Keda's Room. Today we are going to do the review of an article called Being the Good Submissive 101. First, I'd like to say hi to the sirs. Hi, Sir Frankie. Hi, Sir Neroli. Hi, Sir Mars. So I was asked to read this article called Being the Good Submissive 101. During my read, I found it very difficult to understand this until I asked some questions. So before we get in, if you had some questions about this article or you didn't understand anything in this article, I do suggest asking, because anyone will be willing to help you. I promise you that. So in this article, it talks about how there is all different types of submissives and things that some submissives do and things to avoid doing. It also may help a submissive understand something about themselves that they may not know. Like, you may not know that you did something, and this article actually might point it out for you. This article gave me more knowledge on things I didn't even know. I didn't know a bunch of actual things that we will discuss and review on what I learned from this. So here are some points from the article itself. That there is some submissives that try to hide or suppress their needs, their wants, and their desires. But they do not know that they're amplifying these wants, needs, or desires. That one I didn't know. Like, it states in there that atoned, well, dom or dommy it will be amplified to them. So that is something I didn't know. There's a part in this article that I had a really hard time trying to actually understand until it was explained to me. Like, really deeply explained to me. I'll read you a passing from it. Some submissives convince themselves they need to be forced. I had a hard time understanding that they convinced themselves they need to be forced. Like, what does that mean? So Sir Frankie actually explained this to me. That some submissives, even though they may actually like what they and their dom have done, but when they're talking to a friend or a family member, they say that they've been forced to do this, that their dom forced them to do this. They didn't like it, they got forced. I didn't really think that's what that meant, and honestly, I understand now and what that means. There's a bunch of parts in this article that I think are very helpful. Like the part there's a part in the article talking about things to avoid. So I'll read you a passing of one of them right now. The submissive needs to avoid the urge to run away and a relationship. Don't give up. Each day that passes, things will get better. There's also this other part that talks about, and that's also helpful, when the submissive is having a hard time, the submissive should try and focus on what makes them happy with their dom or dommy. Those two things plus more in this article that actually help. Basically, it's stating with the one saying that even though that you're finding that you're failing or something, or that it just seems harder than what it actually is, I promise you it's probably not. Just don't give up on the relationship. Don't run away from it. Keep trying. Go slow at it. Just keep trying to work at this relationship. So let's say you're having a hard time focusing because you keep falling. To focus on what makes you happy with your dom. And as it states in there, doing something that your dom, that you may not like but your dom loves, or anything along those means to get your mind focused on something else. There's another part in this article that talks about communication. Communication is mentioned many times in this group that I am with, and it's mentioned in a bunch of other articles I've read. I'm going to read you a passing from the article. Also, submissives, remember your dom or domee isn't a mind reader. We often forget that our doms aren't mind readers. They get so tuned into who we are and how we are that you honestly think they are reading your mind or know you just like that. But they aren't. They're not that much of a mind reader. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you may be feeling, or a desire or a want you have. Talk with them. I'm pretty sure when you talk with them, there'll be a discussion about what can happen, or what could happen, or what can happen. Just don't be afraid. Talk with your dom. It's the best thing I could say. At the end of this article, it talks about true submission, which is also called sub-heart. I know that there is some submissives out there that actually come by this naturally, and that there is still submissives that are still trying to get to the true submission. For myself, that is something that I do have a goal for, that I do want to have true submission. What did I get from this read? Well, what I got from reading this article, that I have learned things I didn't know before. Like, there's the different types of submissive out there that may act or behave, but they don't know they're acting this way. There's things that I didn't know that I did, like trying to be normal, as is stated in there. Someone that is a well-known tone dominant will actually pick up on this, like it's amplified and it's shouting out to them. I didn't know that. I thought it was very interesting. I also learned about passive-aggressive submissives. I also learned that there's some submissives that might be a sassy submissive. And then I also learned that if you are a sassy submissive, that it's okay to do it every now and then. But an everyday thing would be very tiring for your dom. My overall thoughts. My thoughts on this article, I do believe that can be helpful for a new submissive, or anyone, any submissive that is on a journey to learn more, to know more about their submission, or being a good submissive. That this is something that you should really read. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions if you're having a hard time understanding it. Well, after reading this article, Being a Good Submissive 101, it was very eye-opening for myself. I do think that if I wasn't asked to read this article, I probably wouldn't have read it on my own. But I think it is the first best article I could read for beginning to be a good submissive for my own self. I do hope this article helps other submissives, and I hope that you ask questions.
I was listening to the ocean. I saw